Welcome to the Special Forces in World War II podcast, transmitting on this frequency. This broadcast is your dedicated channel for comprehensive intelligence regarding World War II Special Forces operations. Our transmissions encompass in-depth analysis of their strategic maneuvers, cutting-edge equipment, illustrious biographies, and an array of pertinent subjects. The orchestration of these transmissions is executed by the expert team of the Special Forces in World War II website, a squad deeply immersed in the historical theatre. For further insights, visual aids, and captured moments frozen in time, navigate to our virtual headquarters at worldwar2-soft.com. Your immersion into the front lines of knowledge awaits. Over and out. Welcome back to another episode of the Special Forces in World War II podcast, where we explore the bold, the daring, and the extraordinary stories, tactics, and equipment of the special and specialized forces whose actions helped shape the outcome of the largest conflict in modern history. I'm your host, Michael Wyers, and as always, we're here to uncover the hidden stories behind the remarkable units whose courage and innovation defined the battlefield. Today, our series on Unternehmen Danzig, the German airborne assault against the bridges of the Albert Canal and Fort Eben-Emael in May 1940. In the first episode, we explored the battlefield the Germans intend to break through. We examined the Belgian defensive system along the Albert Canal, focusing on the bridges at Veldwezelt, Vroenhoven, and Kanne, and on Fort Eben-Emael itself. We looked at how these positions were built, how they were armed, and why Belgian planners believed they could hold long enough to stop any advance from the east. This episode turns away from the defenses and toward the attackers. Here we follow the creation and preparation of Sturmabteilung Koch, a unit that does not exist until the autumn of 1939 and is built entirely for a single mission. It brings together Fallschirmjäger, engineers, glider pilots, and support troops under conditions of extreme secrecy. New weapons are introduced. New tactics are improvised. Training is conducted under false unit names inside sealed hangars, and without most of the men ever being told what their final objective will be. This episode traces how the assault force is organized, trained, and refined for Unternehmen Danzig. It follows the development of hollow charges, the division of the force into bridge and fortress assault groups, and the strict timelines that demand success within minutes. It also shows how uncertainty, changing plans, and technical limitations shape the final concept of the attack. By the end of this episode, the assault force is ready. The men have trained for months without knowing exactly where they will land. The plan is fixed, and the next step is to prepare the aircraft and pilots who must carry them into battle. So, let's start at the beginning. On October 9th, 1939, operational planning for the German campaign in the West begins. The trigger is the issuance of Hitler's Weisung No. 6 für die Kriegsführung. This directive sets in motion preparations for offensive operations against Western Europe. Almost 2 weeks later, on October 21st, 1939, Adolf Hitler adds a decisive idea to the developing plans. He proposes that the Belgian Fort Eben-Emael be seized by assault groups landing directly on the fort using transport gliders. At the same time, he envisages parachute troops being dropped onto the bridges spanning the Maas and the Albert Canal. On October 27th, 1939, Hitler summons Kurt Student, holding the rank of General Major, to the Reich Chancellery in Berlin, on Vossstrasse. Student is the commander of the 7th Flieger Division. During the meeting, Hitler asks him to evaluate a specific operational task. Under Student's leadership, the 7th Flieger Division and the 22nd Luftlandedivision Division are to seize the Belgian Reduit National by airborne assault and hold this fortified line until relieved by the Wehrmacht. As the discussion continues, Hitler points to a Belgian fort on a map. He explains that its roof forms a broad, grass-covered surface. He notes the presence of surface defenses, including heavy gun cupolas, casemates, and machine gun positions. He then asks a direct question. Can gliders land on the roof itself? He follows with another. Can troops be delivered in this way to assault the fort directly? Hitler then turns to a new weapon, the hollow charge. This shaped explosive is capable of penetrating steel and reinforced concrete. He dismisses traditional siege warfare as slow, costly, and wasteful. His views are shaped by experiences and accounts from the First World War. In particular, he recalls the fighting at Verdun and the capture of Fort Douaumont. Fort Douaumont is recaptured by French colonial troops on October 24, 1916. German forces withdraw before the assault reaches the interior of the fort. There is no major close-quarters combat inside the structure. The French attack is preceded by an immense preliminary bombardment. Nearly 4,000 heavy-caliber shells are fired. Among them are 300 shells of 370 mm and 100 shells of 400 mm, delivered in part by railway artillery. The bombardment devastates the fort's external structures and reduces the surrounding terrain to a cratered wasteland. Between September 1914 and November 1917, more than 120,000 shells strike Fort Douaumont. Over 2,000 of these exceed 270 mm in caliber. French losses during repeated efforts to retake the position are later estimated at more than 100,000 men. Hitler is determined that such losses must never be repeated. He believes that airborne assault, combined with hollow charges, offers a decisive alternative. He shows particular enthusiasm for sudden, unexpected attacks that bypass traditional defenses entirely. His attention now fixes firmly on Fort Eben-Emael. Within 48 hours of the meeting in Berlin, orders are issued to neutralize the fortress. The operation is given its code name, Unternehmen Danzig. Operational planning soon confirms that a specially trained force is required. Adolf Hitler and Kurt Student both quickly rule out a parachute assault. The Junkers Ju, 52 transport aircraft, carries only 12 paratroopers. These men are lightly armed and can carry only limited demolition equipment. A standard parachute drop takes several minutes per aircraft. During descent, troops are scattered across an area of roughly 275 meters. Weapons and explosives must be dropped separately in containers. After landing, soldiers must locate and retrieve this equipment, creating delays at the most critical moment. The operation demands absolute precision. Assault troops must be placed directly onto the roof of Fort Eben-Emael. Gun cupolas, casemates, and combat blocks must be neutralized immediately before Belgian defenders can demolish the nearby bridges. Parachute forces cannot provide the required accuracy. The DFS 230 transport glider offers a viable alternative. It carries 10 men together with heavy equipment. The total load does not exceed approximately 2,090 kilograms. The glider is capable of landing silently within about 18 meters of its intended landing point. On November 2, 1939, General Major Student selects Hauptmann Walter Koch for the mission. Koch commands 1st Company Fliegerjäger Regiment 1 within the 7th Flieger Division. He is regarded as an imaginative officer with strong tactical insight. His company is reinforced by a pioneer platoon from the 7th Flieger Division, commanded by Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig. Together, these two units form the nucleus of a new assault force. The formation is designated Sturmabteilung Koch. On that same day, Hauptmann Walter Koch receives formal orders from his battalion commander, Major Erich Walter. Koch is instructed to transfer immediately to Hildesheim and begin preparations for the mission. The first paratroopers arrive shortly afterwards. They include 4 officers, 41 non-commissioned officers, and 145 enlisted men. Witzig's pioneer platoon arrives the following day. This pioneer platoon is unique within the German airborne forces. It originates from Army volunteers integrated into airborne units in 1937. Initially formed as a company, it later expands to battalion strength. In October 1939, 1 month before Sturmabteilung Koch is created, the platoon is separated from 2. Fallschirmjäger Regiment 1 and placed directly under the command of the 7th Flieger Division. In early November 1939, Koch is informed that his unit will operate under the direct authority of General Oberst Walter von Reichenau. During the forthcoming invasion of Belgium and France, Sturmabteilung Koch will serve as part of 6 Armee. Additional support units are assigned. 3 searchlight detachments are tasked with illuminating the flight corridor across Germany to the Dutch border, allowing Ju-52 towing aircraft to navigate accurately at night. A glider detachment and an airfield operations company are also attached. For operational deployment, a dedicated Ju-52 towing formation is assigned. Oberleutnant Hassinger of the Pioneer Lehr Battalion is attached to instruct the Fallschirmjäger in engineering tasks. Major Reeps assumes responsibility for glider transport. 30 railway wagons are allocated for this purpose. All movement takes place under strict secrecy. The glider pilot element is commanded by Oberleutnant Walter Kies. This formation is designated the Lastensiegler Versuchszug. During that same month, the first dismantled DFS-230 transport gliders arrive at 2 airfields near Cologne. They are transported overland from Hildesheim in 3 columns using 60 lorries. The fuselages are carried in furniture vans, while the wings are transported separately on vehicles covered with tarpaulins. Secrecy measures are enforced without exception. On November 3, 1939, the day Sturmabteilung Koch officially comes into existence, all external communication is prohibited. Letters and telephone calls are banned, and personnel are confined to barracks. Every effort is made to conceal the airborne nature of the formation. No Fallschirmjäger badges or identifying insignia are permitted. Radio equipment is installed and cables are laid to create the impression that the unit is training in communications. No man is informed of the final objective before training is complete. Every member of Sturmabteilung Koch signs a secrecy declaration under threat of death. Training for the pioneer element also begins on November 4, 1939. Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig's pioneers train under Oberleutnant Hassinger of the Heer. They work extensively with 15 hollow charges of 50 kilograms and 25 hollow charges of 12.5 kilograms. Other Fallschirmjäger train separately with hand grenades, smoke charges, 12.5 kilogram mines, limpet mines, and flamethrowers. On November 6, 1939, Hauptmann Walter Koch and Oberleutnant Walter Kies receive written battle orders. These are delivered personally by General Major Kurt Student and General Major Friedrich Paulus, Chief of Staff of 6 Armee. The orders direct the seizure of the bridges at Maastricht and along the Albert Canal. The bridges are to be captured intact. Fort Eben-Emael is to be taken, and its armored cupolas and heavy weapons destroyed by explosives. The orders concerning Eben-Emael are explicit. Bridge assault groups are to neutralize bunkers guarding the crossings and establish a bridgehead immediately. Enemy counterattacks are to be repelled without delay. For each bridge, 2 assault elements are planned. Each consists of 4 or 5 squads. The first element attacks bunkers using hollow charges. The second establishes a defensive perimeter extending approximately 300 meters from the western bridgehead. All objectives must be achieved within 30 minutes. Bridgehead consolidation follows at once. After 90 minutes, German artillery provides covering fire. 4 hours after landing, relief forces are expected to arrive. These strict requirements necessitate subdivision of the force. On November 8, 1939, Koch finalizes the organization. After completing his mission analysis, Hauptmann Koch identifies 4 critical tasks that must be completed for Unternehmen Danzig to succeed. These tasks are also essential to enable the advance of General Oberst Fedor von Bock's Heeresgruppe B and the 4th Panzer Division. Consideration is given to destroying bridge demolition systems by precision Stuka strikes, but this concept is ultimately abandoned. Sturmabteilung Koch is tasked with seizing the bridges at Veldwezelt, Vroenhoven and Kanne and preventing their demolition. It must also neutralize the artillery positions of Fort Eben-Emael. 5 groups are formed. These consist of Witzig's pioneer element and 4 assault groups. In the initial plan, 1 Sturmgruppe is assigned to seize the Wilhelmina Bridge at Maastricht. Oberleutnant Altmann commands Sturmgruppe Veldwezelt, tasked with capturing the Veldwezelt Bridge. He is allocated approximately 90 men, transported in 10 gliders. Oberleutnant Schacht leads the assault on the Vroenhoven Bridge with a force of about 100 men and 11 gliders. Hauptmann Koch positions himself near this bridge, whose central location and robust construction make it suitable for command and control. The bridge at Kanne is assigned to Lieutenant Schechter. His detachment consists of 80 men, transported in 9 gliders. The assault on Fort Eben-Emael is entrusted to Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig, who commands an engineer platoon of 86 men. Oberleutnant Kies remains responsible for glider maintenance and pilot training. Each Sturmgruppe includes 1 anti-tank gun, 1 flamethrower, 1 pioneer section, 4 light machine gun teams, and 3 rifle groups. As preparations continue, the number of available gliders and Junkers Ju-52 towing aircraft steadily increases. At Gardelegen, 25 non-commissioned officers and 101 men form 4 ground support groups under the command of Hauptmann Eisenkramer. By November 9, 1939, Koch controls 35 Ju-52 aircraft and 45 DFS 230 gliders. The airfield at Mönchengladbach is prepared for flight and landing exercises, and a detachment under Lieutenant Schacht is earmarked for deployment there. Plans are made to billet troops at the Delbruck barracks. General Major Paulus intervenes directly, ordering that no man may leave Hildesheim without his express permission. For the assault on Fort Eben-Emael, Witzig identifies 3 essential tasks, ranked by priority. First, weapons on the fort roof must be destroyed, as they could interfere with glider landings and movement across the surface. Second, gun batteries covering the 3 bridges must be silenced. Third, entrances and exits must be destroyed to prevent a garrison counterattack. Witzig understands that speed and shock are decisive. He estimates that his platoon has no more than 1 hour before a Belgian counterattack overwhelms it. To support this effort, a Luftwaffe liaison officer, Lieutenant Deliker, is attached to the platoon. Deliker serves as both forward air controller and communications officer. He is responsible for calling in bombers and fighters when required and for controlling the planned aerial resupply drop. These measures are intended to defeat Belgian garrison counterattacks. The operational plan includes a link-up with the leading elements of the 4th Panzer Division after it crosses the Albert Canal. Pioneer Battalion 51, part of Infantry Regiment 151, is tasked with crossing at the Kanne Bridge. If required, it is to relieve the assault force and assist in neutralizing Fort Eben-Emael. In response to these assigned tasks, Witzig implements specialized training. Pioneer instruction focuses on flamethrowers and hollow charges, with each course led by a technical specialist. At the same time, Koch's assault troops continue refining attack drills, preparing for a rapid, violent, and decisive operation. Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig divides his engineer platoon into 11 sections. Each section is assigned to a single glider. Every section receives the task of destroying 2 enemy emplacements and is instructed to assume another section's mission if required. The organization and individual assignments are laid down in detailed planning documents. Each section consists of 7 to 8 men. Weapons vary by section and include machine guns and flamethrowers. The assault force carries 28 hollow charges weighing 50 kilograms each and 28 hollow charges weighing 12.5 kilograms each. Additional explosives are included. The total explosive load amounts to approximately 2.5 tons. The principle of the hollow charge is first identified in 1888. It is developed by Charles Monroe during experiments on explosive effects. The hollow charge functions by shaping explosive force. Upon detonation, it produces a concentrated jet of extreme pressure. This jet provides exceptional penetration with a relatively small explosive mass. The pressure generated can blast an opening of approximately 30 centimeters and is lethal to personnel inside enclosed positions. When detonated, the explosion melts the steel liner of the charge. A stream of molten metal, hot gases, and fragments is driven through a narrow opening into the target. The larger 50-kilogram hollow charge is capable of penetrating up to 25 centimeters of armor or reinforced concrete. It is issued in 2 hemispherical sections and must be assembled before use. The smaller 12.5-kilogram charge consists of a single unit and is capable of penetrating up to 15 centimeters. Training intensity remains extreme. Fallschirmjäger conduct route marches of up to 50 kilometers, carrying full equipment loads. They train with explosive charges fitted with 10-second delay fuses. Instruction includes the interpretation of aerial photographs and detailed maps. While Fallschirmjäger master a broad range of combat skills, glider pilots focus exclusively on flying techniques. Precision landings are refined continuously. Formation and night flying at 140 kilometers per hour becomes routine. From November 1939 onward, the Abwehr compiles comprehensive reports on security measures and control systems at the 3 key bridges at Veldwezelt, Vroenhoven, and Kanne, as well as Fort Eben-Emael and the surrounding terrain. German soldiers, disguised as Belgian police, conduct close reconnaissance of the Albert Canal bridges. The precision with which Belgian obstacles and defensive works are identified is striking. Reports include detailed sketches and technical descriptions. On November 12, 1939, Hauptmann Walter Koch travels to Münster together with Oberstleutnant Schmidt of the Abwehr and Gruppenführer Heckel. The purpose of the meeting is to coordinate intelligence collection efforts inside Belgium. To mislead outsiders, the unit's designation changes repeatedly. On November 14, 1939, it is renamed Versuchsabteilung Friedrichshafen. Later cover names include Flughafen Bauzug and 17. Reservestaffel. Facilities used by the unit at Cologne airfields are similarly disguised. Hangars are given innocuous names such as Silberfuchs Farm and Pelztier Farm. These measures are intended to deceive other airfield personnel. Security is enforced without compromise. On November 16, 1939, General Major Kurt Student conducts his first inspection of Sturmabteilung Koch. At this stage, the strength of the Fallschirmjäger elements continues to increase. The number of attached searchlight units also expands. From November 17, 1939, security becomes less tight, and censored letters and postcards are permitted for the troops. On November 18, 1939, Wilhelm Canaris, head of the Abwehr, meets with Hauptmann Walter Koch and General Student. Hauptmann Fleck, Special Commissioner for Sabotage from Battalion ZB 100, also attends. Fleck raises concerns regarding the seizure of the Maastricht bridges. He warns that failure there could compromise operations at Veldwezelt and Vroenhoven. Doubts are expressed about achieving complete surprise through a glider assault by Fallschirmjäger alone. A proposal is made to use precision Stuka attacks to sever bridge detonator cables, with Fallschirmjäger completing the seizure. This proposal is rejected. The original plan is approved with one modification. Responsibility for the Maastricht bridges is assigned exclusively to Battalion ZBV 100. The first tactical trials take place on November 24, 1939, at Haguenau. Prior to this, Witzig's pioneers received theoretical instruction at the Karlshorst Academy. Training focuses on the employment of hollow charges. Practical exercises follow at former Polish fortifications near Gleiwitz, where both 12.5 kilogram and 50 kilogram charges are employed. Other elements of Sturmabteilung Koch also reach an adequate level of readiness. By mid-December 1939, commanders decide that the units are prepared to be tested under fully realistic operational conditions. From November 20th, 1939, every new arrival is required to sign a formal undertaking. The declaration states that any breach of secrecy, whether deliberate or negligent, will be punished by death. This includes oral, written, or pictorial disclosure of service location or operational objectives. As time passes, restrictions are eased slightly, though security remains strict. From November 21st, 1939, limited leave is permitted, but only within Hildesheim. Men are not allowed to go out alone. Each group is accompanied by a non-commissioned officer. Popular establishments include the Wiener Café, Theatergarten, Corso, and Trocadero. Organized excursions also take place, including visits to the caves of the Harz region. By December 1939, the searchlight component of Sturmabteilung Koch expands significantly. By this point, the unit controls 7 platoons of 3rd and Gallert searchlight and beacon units. From December 14, 1939, Lieutenant Schechter's troops train for 5 days in the Harz region. At the same time, Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig's pioneers spend 8 days training at the fortifications of Tarnowitz and Beuthen. These positions closely resemble Fort Eben-Emael. The exercises focus on assault methods, demolition techniques, and coordination under confined conditions. Following the Mechelen incident, the operational plan for the invasion of the Netherlands, Belgium, and France is revised. A new date for the attack is set for January 17, 1940. On January 6, 1940, Hauptmann Walter Koch is summoned to a conference with General Helmuth Felmy, commander of Luftflotte II. Koch briefs Felmy in detail on the mission. He recognizes the urgency of final preparations, with particular emphasis placed on transferring forces to the Cologne airfields designated as departure points for Belgium. All leave is cancelled until after January 13, 1940. After the January false alarm, Fallschirmjäger preparations continue without pause. Training now includes air-to-ground communications. Officers from the assault groups and commanders of fighter units use this interval to coordinate their tasks and improve cooperation for the coming operation. Recognition of ground signals is practiced from an altitude of 900 meters. Major Rieps's detachment rejoins Sturmabteilung Koch and assumes responsibility for transporting and assembling the gliders. 3 lorry convoys are formed for this purpose, commanded by Oberleutnant Drossen. Rieps is also tasked with recovering the gliders after the operation, a measure intended to conceal their existence and use. The transfer encounters serious difficulties. Severe cold and ice force the second convoy to halt and turn back. Movement resumes 14 hours later. Despite these delays, Rieps and the gliders arrive in Cologne on schedule. At Köln-Ostheim, 19 gliders are assembled. At Köln-Butzweilerhof, 11 gliders are assembled. A total of 60 lorries is required to transport the components. On January 9, 1940, restricted sections of the operating airfields at Butzweilerhof and Ostheim receive cover names. Butzweilerhof is designated Silberfuchs Farm. Ostheim becomes Pelztier Farm. A contemporary witness also records the Butzweilerhof sector being referred to as Hühner Farm. This area consists of barracks screened from public view by a high, opaque fence. Extreme weather also delays Hauptmann Eisenkramer. Koch therefore requests additional ground personnel from Luftflotte 2. These reinforcements arrive on January 10, 1940, led by Hauptmann Dreyer of the Pioniertruppe. The commander of the Fallschirmjäger, Vorkommando at Butzweilerhof, and the soldiers of the detachment are quartered in the Göring-Kaserne at Köln-Delbrück. At Köln-Butzweilerhof airfield, 11 DFS 230 transport gliders are unloaded. At Köln-Ostheim, a further 19 gliders are unloaded. Under the highest level of secrecy, the lorries are emptied. Personnel of the Fallschirmjäger Vorkommando move the components into hangars secured by barbed wire and electric fencing. Assembly begins immediately. One soldier later recalls furniture vans arriving at night at Butzweilerhof without lights. At Butzweilerhof, assembly takes place in Hangar 1. The hangar is only partially completed at this stage and lies within the old airfield area. Even personnel of the airfield command are denied access. Only the numerous sentries patrolling around the hangar are visible. During the winter and spring of 1940, DFS 230 transport gliders remain present at Köln-Ostheim airfield. These aircraft are intended for the planned assault on Fort Eben-Emael. Security regulations surrounding the operation remain exceptionally strict. The forthcoming glider landings in Belgium are treated as top secret. In February 1940, Sturmabteilung Koch undergoes reorganization. On February 5, 1940, a number of pilots are detached and transferred under Hauptmann Arnold Willarding to Braunschweig-Waggum. Their task is to establish a Luftwaffe glider training school. Oberleutnant Walter Kies loses 20 glider pilots. In addition, 8 Ju-52 crews and 6 flying instructors are transferred. In total, 2 officers, 41 non-commissioned officers, and 17 men leave the unit, causing significant disruption to Koch's planning. For security reasons, Kies's command is renamed at the end of January. It now carries the designation 17. Staffel, Kampfgeschwader zur besonderen Verwendung 5. Further changes affect the company of Oberleutnant Gustav Altmann. The most significant concerns the bridge at Kanne. The original assault group is dissolved, and its personnel are distributed among the remaining groups as reinforcements. Training in demolition techniques is expanded and now applies to all of 1 company and to Witzig's pioneers. Fire support is recognized as essential for securing the bridgeheads. Fallschirmjäger require artillery support from the outset. On February 13, 1940, the idea of forming an anti-tank company of Fallschirmjäger is proposed. No suitable unit is available. The final solution is support by the Aldinger Flak unit. This unit consists of 3 batteries, each equipped with 4 88mm guns, and a further 3 batteries, each fielding 12 20mm guns. Because of his combat experience in Spain, Aldinger is selected to support Sturmabteilung Koch. His task is to reduce Belgian pressure on the bridgeheads. His 3 batteries advance along the eastern bank of the Meuse toward Maastricht, providing rapid and effective artillery support to Fallschirmjäger operations. To coordinate fire support, joint exercises are conducted, focusing primarily on communications. Detailed maps are prepared, showing numbered aiming points for Aldinger's guns. Each assault group reports by radio to Koch's command post, specifying the aiming point requiring fire. Accurate target identification is critical, and each assault group therefore includes an artillery observer. 1/Flak-Abteilung 6 supports the Stahl and Beaten groups. 3/Flak-Abteilung 64 supports the Eisen group at Kanne. Oberleutnant Rausch of the Abwehr in Cologne provides Koch with Belgian radio frequencies used for internal communications. This intelligence proves highly valuable, enabling effective monitoring and jamming of enemy radio traffic. Oberjäger Rudolf Urban is appointed non-commissioned officer responsible for communications within Sturmabteilung Koch. Code names are assigned for security. Veldwezelt is Stahl, Vroenhoven is Beton, Kanne is Eisen, Fort Eben-Emael is Granite. Aldinger's command post is Donner. The forward observer is Bruno. Battery 1 is Bertha. Battery 2 is Sigrid. Battery 3 is Hilde. Pioneer Battalion 51 of the Heer and an attached panzer unit operate under the code name Oberon. Koch's command post at Vroenhoven, as well as the headquarters of the 8th Flieger Corps, the Aldinger Group, and the 4th Panzer Division, also receive individual cover names. Oberleutnant Altmann assumes the role of overall coordinator for Sturmabteilung Koch. This includes responsibility for personnel management, a task that proves demanding. Koch reportedly remarks that Rhinelanders should not be recruited, despite being a Rhinelander himself. His principal concern remains the frequent and disruptive changes to the attack plan. In February 1940, the Pioneer Platoon deploys first to former Czechoslovakia and later moves into Poland. Training there concentrates on breaching casemates and armored cupolas. The men practice capturing fortified positions that were once intended to resist a German advance. These defenses form part of the Benesch Line, which stretches for approximately 480 kilometers and is equipped with modern weapons produced by leading Czech manufacturers. Physical conditioning follows tactical requirements. Training emphasizes climbing, rapid movement, and endurance under full combat load. This approach closely resembles modern battle-focused conditioning. On February 27, 1940, a further restriction is imposed. All rank and branch insignia are banned, and uniform jackets must remain completely plain. Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig expands the training program further. Glider pilots are integrated directly into the assault sections and train alongside infantrymen and engineers. Over time, they become capable of operating all platoon weapons. Training areas are constructed to scale, using aerial reconnaissance photographs as guides. Distances and proportions precisely match the real objectives. Platoon members attend specialist demolition courses focused on destroying Belgian artillery and anti-aircraft positions. They also study fortification construction methods, drawing on discussions with engineers and civilian contractors. On February 29, 1940, objective recognition begins. For the first time, the Fallschirmjäger study aerial photographs of the bridges and Fort Eben-Emael. During the same month, operational thinking shifts once again. The plan is amended so that the operation would begin with Stuka attacks, followed by gliders carrying Fallschirmjäger. This approach removes the element of surprise and risks heavy losses in the opening phase. On March 1, 1940, Hauptmann Walter Koch proposes a revised plan. 4 days later, a conference is held, attended by General Feldmarschall Albert Kesselring, General Major Kurt Student, Generalleutnant Hans Graf von Sponeck, Hauptmann Koch, and Oberleutnant Witzig. Following this meeting, Koch and Witzig submit a detailed report to Adolf Hitler. The report covers training progress and operational planning for the forthcoming operations in Belgium and the Netherlands. Hitler approves Koch's proposal and assigns 90 additional men from an Army Pioneer Battalion. All are volunteers from the 6th Army who have already distinguished themselves during the Polish campaign. This group forms the core of a new assault element placed under the command of Lieutenant Martin Schechter. Its task is the assault on the bridge at Kanne. The first men arrive at Hildesheim on March 11, 1940. The Kanne Bridge now regains importance in Hitler's planning. Several factors contribute to this shift. Despite unfavorable terrain, surprise can still be exploited, benefiting Witzig's forces at Fort Eben-Emael. A rapid link-up between Eben-Emael and Kanne appears feasible, allowing reinforcements to move quickly toward Veldwezelt and Vroenhoven. The newly assigned pioneers, however, have little time to prepare. This lack of preparation later contributes to difficulties during the assault, as most of Sturmabteilung Koch has already undergone months of specialized training. From March 1940, emphasis shifts to detailed target analysis. Every objective is studied intensively. Sources include aerial photographs, Belgian deserters of German origin, intelligence agents, and even postage stamps. On March 2nd, 1940, Erwin Ziller constructs a scale model of Fort Eben-Emael. On March 23, 1940, he completes models of the Vroenhoven Bridge and surrounding terrain, as well as the bridge at Kanne. Koch's men study every detail. Training includes rehearsals on bridges near Hildesheim. Sniper training begins on March 4, 1940. Explosive placement is practiced using empty mortar shell casings. Training also includes paddling rubber assault boats. Familiarization with the MP-38 machine pistol becomes routine. By the end of March, training reaches completion. Sturmabteilung Koch now functions as a cohesive and highly effective combat unit. On March 14, 1940, 4 Belgian deserters from the Eupen-Malmedy region join the Fallschirmjäger. All 4 have previously served in the Belgian army and have been stationed on the Albert Canal bridges. Their local knowledge later proves highly valuable. The background lies in the complex status of Eupen and Malmedy, which remain German territory until 1925, when they are transferred to Belgium under Article 34 of the Treaty of Versailles. For many inhabitants of German origin, loyalty to the Belgian state and to King Leopold remains problematic. At the end of March, cover names are formally assigned. Stahl designates Veldwezelt. Beton designates Vroenhoven. Eisen designates Kanne. These code names also apply to the departure airfields at Köln-Ostheim and Köln-Butzweilerhof. 2 airfields are required, as no single location can launch all Ju-52 towing aircraft and gliders within a 25-minute window. 2 aspects of the operation remain untested. A full-scale launch involving the entire Sturmabteilung Koch is never rehearsed. The hollow charge is also excluded from training. Its existence is treated as highly classified, and Adolf Hitler orders that it must not be exposed. The device is also under development for other strategic programs. Only Oberleutnant Witzig witnesses a live detonation prior to the mission. As May 1940 approaches, the men await the assault order. The operation retains its code name, Unternehmen Danzig. On April 1, 1940, Hauptmann Koch inspects the operational airfields at Köln-Ostheim and Köln-Butzweilerhof, as well as the Scheinwerferzug Turm. On April 8, 1940, communications trials are conducted to improve coordination between the Fallschirmjäger, Aldinger's flak units, and Luftwaffe air formations. From April 9, 1940, steel helmets are repainted at the operational airfields using a newly developed camouflage color. The final helmet pattern is issued on April 23, 1940. On April 10, 1940, Koch travels to Schloss Dyke to meet the commander of the 8th Flieger Corps, General Lieutenant Wolfram Freiherr von Richthofen. After the briefing, Koch returns to inspect the forward deployed elements at Köln-Ostheim, Köln-Butzweilerhof, and the Scheinwerferzug Turm. Parachute dummies arrive at Fliegerhorst Köln-Ostheim on April 11, 1940, for use by Sturmabteilung Koch in deception and training measures. Major Reeps, acting as startlighter, relocates his command on April 13, 1940, from Köln-Ostheim to Köln-Butzweilerhof in support of the operation planned for May 9 to 10, 1940. On the same day, Lieutenant Krüger assumes the role of startlighter at Köln-Ostheim. On April 14, 1940, Oberleutnant Zierach, the operations officer, IA, of Sturmabteilung Koch, inspects the forward deployed elements at both Köln-Ostheim and Köln-Butzweilerhof. He coordinates supply arrangements and organizes accommodation for the Fallschirmjäger in consultation with the local airfield commanders. At Fliegerhorst Köln-Ostheim, parts of the hangar apron and one aircraft hangar are sealed off with barbed wire. Within this restricted zone, Fallschirmjäger of Sturmabteilung Koch are quartered. Here, they receive specialized training for operations using transport gliders. Security dominates every phase of preparation. Surprise is essential to success. The timing of the assault must remain unknown. Even limited resistance on the fort roof could halt the attack. General Student later stresses that secrecy is absolute. From the moment orders are issued, only 5 officers know the identity and location of the target. The unit adopts a new designation whenever it relocates. Cover titles include Airport Construction Platoon and Experimental Section Friedrichshafen. After training, gliders are dismantled and moved in civilian furniture vans. Storage takes place inside guarded hangars. Perimeters are concealed behind fencing covered with straw mats. All correspondence is tightly controlled. Letters are reviewed by Oberleutnant Rudolf Witzig, Hauptmann Walter Koch, or Oberleutnant Walter Kies. Soldiers are kept out of public view. Contact with civilians and other units is avoided. Sergeant Helmut Wenzel later recalls the restrictions. The men may attend cinemas, but only under guard. Insignia are removed. Names are not used. If contact occurs with known civilians, the entire unit relocates immediately. Each man signs a declaration acknowledging the penalty for disclosure. The stated punishment is death, and enforcement is uncompromising. 2 Luftwaffe soldiers who approach the hangar before the operation are detained and kept in custody until the mission concludes. 2 assault troops are found speaking with another unit and are scheduled for execution. The assault order arrives before the sentence is carried out. Both men are released and take part in the attack. On April 18, 1940, Sturmabteilung Koch numbers 33 officers and 1,127 other ranks. Ground personnel include 11 officers and 427 men. 42 glider pilots are present, with 4 held in reserve. Flying personnel include 11 officers and 182 men. Among them are 42 Ju-52 pilots, with 1 reserve pilot available. 6 Ju-52 pilots are assigned specifically to transport Ringler's heavy machine gun half platoon. 3 days later, on April 21, 1940, the Fallschirmjäger Command under Hauptmann Koch conducts a demonstration attack on the Warner Heide. Senior Luftwaffe officers observe the operation. Flak units support the assault, and Sturzkampfflugzeug provide air support. The target is a heavily defended strongpoint.
They always tell you there's a catch, a compromise, an asterisk. Terms apply. See store for details. May be less than advertised. May vary by mood. Probably. Sprite Zero Sugar? It's different. It's the lemon lime flavored refreshment you want with zero sugar. So, no fast voice? No caveats. Just refreshment. This is Sprite Zero Sugar. Obey your thirst.
Final preparations now focus on coordination. Ju-52 transport aircraft and fighter formations must operate seamlessly with the ground assault. Details are refined continuously. Training continues at Hildesheim. On April 21, 1940, 50 Ju-52 aircraft embark all Fallschirmjäger designated for the operation. The exercise again tests coordination between Fallschirmjäger, Sturzkampfverbände, and Flak in an assault against a heavily defended objective. On April 22, 1940, and April 25, 1940, a large-scale exercise follows. All sectors participate. Fallschirmjäger radio operators, commanders, and artillery observers take part. A reconnaissance panzer and a radio detachment from Pioneer Battalion 51 are present. Aldinger's radio troop participates. Radio operators from 8th Fliegerkorps also take part. Earlier in April, Unternehmen Weserübung is executed. The invasion of Denmark and Norway achieves relative success. After this, Major Rieps's detachment rejoins Sturmabteilung Koch and occupies quarters at Köln-Ostheim airfield. On April 30, 1940, another large exercise takes place near Einbeck. Fighter aircraft participate. 3rd Staffel simulates an attack on Infantry Regiment 132, and Fallschirmjäger execute a successful drop. 1 day later, on May 1, 1940, Witzig's pioneers relocate to Hilden, near Düsseldorf. Another day later, on May 2nd, 1940, final operational discussions take place at Führer headquarters. Present are General Major Kurt Student, General Lieutenant Graf Sponeck, and General Feldmarschall Albert Kesselring. Graf Sponeck commands 22. Luftlandedivision, Division, which is assigned a major role in the invasion of the Netherlands. Reichsmarschall Göring is not invited. The principal issue is timing. Glider pilots are capable of flying in darkness, but landing in darkness remains hazardous. It is therefore decided that glider landings will occur at first light. The attack is scheduled for 5:35, 20 minutes before sunrise. On May 5, 1940, Hauptmann Koch arrives at Köln-Butzweilerhof airfield and attends a commander's conference led by General Lieutenant Wolfram von Richthofen, commander of 8th Fliegerkorps. Koch meets Richthofen and General Feldmarschall Albert Kesselring of Luftflotte II. Kesselring has recently replaced General Felmy. Discussion again centers on coordination between airborne troops and ground forces. It is agreed that all Luftflotte II aircraft will operate under Kesselring's overall command during the attack. Final and binding coordination is established during this meeting. Transport of the Fallschirmjäger is assigned to Kampfgeschwader zur besonderen Verwendung 1, commanded by Generalmajor Hans-Georg von Morzig. 42 U-52 towing aircraft from 17th Staffel / Kampfgeschwader zur besonderen Verwendung 5 are allocated. These aircraft are divided into 4 operational groups, with 4 additional Ju-52 held in reserve. A further 6 Ju-52 are assigned to carry Fallschirmjäger, scheduled to jump after the initial bridge assaults begin. On April 26, 1940, the detailed composition of the towing Staffeln is announced. From Köln-Ostheim, the Staffel assigned to Granite operates against Fort Eben-Emael. It consists of 11 Ju-52 aircraft, commanded by Lieutenant Schweitzer, with Lieutenant Janke as deputy. Also from Köln-Ostheim, the Betonstaffel is assigned to Vroenhoven. It consists of 10 Ju-52 aircraft under Lieutenant Seider, with Lieutenant Davignon as deputy. A third Staffel from Köln-Ostheim is assigned to Stahl at Veldwezelt. It consists of 9 Ju-52 aircraft, commanded by Oberleutnant Nevries, with Oberjäger Zimmermann as deputy. From Köln-Butzweilerhof, the Eisenstaffel is tasked with the attack on Kanne. It consists of 10 Ju-52 aircraft under Oberleutnant Steinweg, with Oberleutnant Reigel as deputy. Also based at Butzweilerhof is a special Staffel from E/Kampfgeschwader zur besonderen Verwendung operating 6 U-52 aircraft to carry Ringler's heavy machine gun half-platoon. Because 2 additional Fallschirmjäger squads are added shortly before the operation, Betten receives 1 extra Ju-52. A further aircraft is allocated to Stahl. This additional aircraft is scheduled to depart from Butzweilerhof. For resupply, 5 Heinkel, 111 bombers of I/Kampfgeschwader 4 are assigned. They take off from Köln-Butzweilerhof and drop ammunition and supplies in 2 waves. The first drop occurs approximately 45 minutes after the landing. The second follows around 160 minutes later. Drops are made from an altitude of 200 to 300 meters. Each bridge assault group is to receive 16 supply containers. Assault Group Granite at Fort Eben-Emael is to receive 32 containers. 4 Dornier Do 17 bombers and 6 Henschel HS-126 reconnaissance aircraft provide air cover over the Fallschirmjäger. Over Belgium, responsibility rests with 8 Fliegerkorps under General von Richthofen. This formation specializes in close air support and includes Stuka units, Henschel HS-123 aircraft, and Messerschmitt Bf-109E fighters. Aircraft of the 8th Fliegerkorps support attacks against the fortified belt around Liège and then support the advance inland. 15 minutes after the initial landings, they begin providing direct support to the Fallschirmjäger from the rear. Once the airborne objectives are secured, their mission shifts to escorting the German ground advance into France. Adolf Hitler initially designates May 7, 1940, as the start date for Fall Gelb. After a delay of 2 days, he sets the final date as May 10, 1940. On May 7, 1940, 3 road convoys move additional gliders to the airfields. These convoys are led by Major Reeps, Oberjäger Sticken, and Lieutenant Kruger. These gliders are intended as reinforcement. On May 8, 1940, additional troops join Sturmabteilung Koch. Assaultgruppen Stahl and Beton each receive 1 additional squad. The final strength of the glider-borne assault groups is now fixed. Stahl at Veldwezelt consists of 1 officer and 91 men. Beton at Vroenhoven consists of 5 officers and 129 men. Eisen at Kanne consists of 2 officers and 88 men. Granite at Fort Eben-Emael consists of 2 officers and 83 men. On May 9, 1940, at 1300, Kurt Student receives the code word Romanian. The message confirms that Fallgelb will begin on May 10, 1940. During the afternoon, Sturmabteilung Koch redeploys from Hildesheim to Cologne. The movement is ordered by the 8th Flieger Corps. For camouflage, the entire formation operates under cover designations, including Staffel/Kampfgeschwader zur besonderen Verwendung, Pfeif- and Versuchsabteilung, Friedrichshafen. Between 1800 and 1830, major air movements take place. 11 Junkers, Ju-52/3M aircraft of E. Gruppe, Luftlandegeschwader, 1 land at Köln-Butzweilerhof, carrying Fallschirmjäger of Sturmgruppe Eisen and Sturmgruppe Stahl. At the same time, 31 Ju-52/3M aircraft of the same formation land at Köln-Ostheim, transporting Fallschirmjäger of Sturmgruppe Beton and the remaining elements of Sturmgruppe Stahl. The designation Luftlandegeschwader will only be formally applied after the operation. Walter Koch lands at Köln-Ostheim aboard a Ju-52/3M flown by Otto Krutsch. At approximately 1830, Sturmgruppe Granite arrives at Köln-Ostheim by lorry. The group consists of 85 Fallschirmjäger from the Fallschirmpionierzug. They depart from Hilden, leaving the Flakkaserne. Weeks earlier, the unit had been stationed at Köln-Ostheim, then moved to Köln-Delbrück, and later to Hilden. These repeated relocations are deliberate deception measures. Immediately after landing, all Ju-52 aircraft at both Cologne airfields are refueled. The Flughafenbetriebskompanie under Eisenkramer directs the aircraft to their assigned positions. At 2000, Koch arrives at Köln-Butzweilerhof, accompanied by Walter Kies, the commander of the glider force. Together, they inspect the aircraft, the assembled Fallschirmjäger of the assault groups, the heavy machine gun half platoon under Ringler, and the start command under Reeps. From 2000 onward, the transport gliders that have been stored in hangars since January are brought out. Assembly and positioning begin at both airfields. During this period, I-Gruppe of Sturzkampfgeschwader 76, commanded by Siegel, redeploys to Köln-Ostheim and is placed under Sturzkampfgeschwader 2 Immelmann. At the same time, Second Gruppe of Zerstörergeschwader 76, known as the Haifisch Group, arrives at Flugplatz Wahn. Equipped with Messerschmitt B F-110 aircraft, the unit is commanded by Groth. Additional Messerschmitt B F-109 fighters also land at Wahn. At 2100, the code word Danzig is issued. It confirms the final execution order. Instructions pass through the formations. The attack in the west is now set in motion. And that concludes today's episode. With the preparations of Sturmabteilung Koch now complete, the assault force stands ready. The structure is fixed, the weapons are tested, and the timelines are set to the minute. What has been created over months of secrecy, improvisation, and relentless training is a unit designed for speed, shock, and precision. Yet one critical element still remains beyond the assault troops themselves. In the next episode, the focus shifts again. We move away from the men who will fight on the bridges and the fortress and turn to those who must deliver them. The glider pilots, civilian competitors, test pilots, and Luftwaffe aircrew have been trained for a task that has never before been attempted in war. Their preparations, their doubts, and their innovations will determine whether the entire operation succeeds or fails. To explore this subject further, including photographs, maps, original documents, and the full list of sources behind this series, visit our website at www.worldwar2-sof.com, where you'll find dedicated pages covering Fort Eben-Emael and the Albert Canal crossings at Veldwezelt, Vroenhoven, and Kanne. In preparing this episode, we drew on a number of important works that illuminate both the fortress and its role in the 1940 campaign. Chief among them is the fall of Eben-Emael, the daring airborne assault that sealed the fate of France by James Mrazek. We also consulted the wartime and operational study, The Fall of Eben-Emael, Belgium 1940, Raid 38, by Chris McNabb. Alongside these, we made extensive use of specialized research focused on the Albert Canal bridges, including the silent attack, the Fallschirmjäger capture of the bridges of Veldwezelt, Vroenhoven, and Kanne 1940 by Oscar Gonzalez, Thomas Steinke, and Ian Tannehill. Together, these sources show how Fort Eben-Emael and the canal bridges are conceived as a single defensive system, and how their design, organization, and underlying assumptions shaped the opening hours of the 1940 campaign in the West. I'm Michael Wyers. Thank you for listening, and join me next time as we continue to uncover the hidden stories, daring innovations, and extraordinary achievements of the special and specialized units who fought on the edge of possibility in World War II. And that concludes this mission briefing, fellow warriors of knowledge. We've navigated through the trenches of information, delving deep into the battlefields of history. As we wrap up this episode in our campaign for understanding, remember that knowledge is your most potent weapon. Stay vigilant and keep sharpening your intellectual arsenal. We'll rendezvous again for another episode, continuing our relentless pursuit of enlightenment. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your curiosity burning, and your determination unwavering. Simultaneously, you are hereby alerted to our outposts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, fortifying our information dissemination. Should you possess any pertinent intelligence to bolster our mission, transmit your findings with no hesitation. Your contributions shall be prominently acknowledged within the operational archives. Furthermore, for those prepared to provide substantial reinforcement, navigate to our Patreon forward base and enlist. Your support is integral to sustaining our forward thrust. Carry forth the legacy. Dismissed.